So just to notify you. So contest, any other person has something else to add to that? Contest. Okay, if there's no other one, I think I'll come back to that chat later on to see. In case there's someone or an organization who offers same services as you do, my message to strive. Beyond the say good evening, sir. I just joined. Yes, thank you. Welcome, Beyond the I was just asking the question, when you hear the word competition, what comes to your mind? That was the question that I was asking. When you hear the word competition, what comes to your mind? Okay, great. I'll just go ahead and share my screen now, and then we can get this on our jolly way. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Okay, yes, great. So I think I agree with most of you that say, yes, when you hear the word competition, most of the time what comes to our mind is to strive, someone doing the same thing as we are. Beyond the juice says to establish superiority. Yes, and I'll just use these words to get us started. But first of all, let's introduction, right? My name is Jonathan David, and people call me the business therapist. And I spent the last 10 years running several businesses. Now, I started out with a printing business. At first, that didn't go according to plan. And then afterward, I ventured into other stuff. Today, I run 3 different businesses. I own 2 different consultancy businesses in 2 different niches. And then I also own a physical business that's located in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and is growing. One of my consultancy business has been around for almost 7 years, and is doing very well. And it's not a business that operates just in Nigeria. It's a business that operates that is open and operates. We serve different population right here, different population from different parts of the world from right here in Nigeria. Now, about 10 years ago was when I launched out, and as a rookie, obviously, it didn't turn out very well for me at first, right? It didn't turn out very well for me. But I learned from that mistake, and then I went ahead to create much more better businesses. And today, I can gladly say my persistence eventually paid off for me. And over time, it is that knowledge that I have gained from different mistakes that I've made that I continue to share with different sets of entrepreneurs. What I've learned both from my mistakes and from the learnings through interactions, through training, that I continue to share. So that persistence eventually paid off. So that I'm having this discussion with you is an evidence that yes, you could choose to run businesses, not just in one niche, but in several niches and win. So I'll give you an example, right? I own an engineering consultancy. I started out by trade as an engineer. I own an engineering consultancy. Apart from owning an engineering consultancy, I also own a healthy food option business, absolutely different from engineering, and I also run a business consultancy, 3 different niches. And that's just the one I'm telling you that are active, not a few others that are on ice waiting to be unleashed. So you could actually work and be persistent in different industries and actually still succeed and get the most out of there. So whatever I will be discussing with you today is not what I just woke up and maybe read in a book and then came to share. It is what I have experienced personally, right? And from what I've experienced, that is what I'm going to be sharing with you today, okay? So today, what I want to talk about really is how you can stand out and sell out in the marketplace. And the reason for this topic is because today we operate in a very, very saturated environment, in a very, very saturated market. If you think you are the genius there, you start something out, and believe you me, in a very short time, you find somebody else that takes the same idea that you've had, takes the same business you already operate, refine it even better than you do, and goes out to the market and start doing exactly the same thing. And this happens again and again and again. It's a case of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And because this continues to happen, many people feel that competition is horrible, competition is not good. Sometimes it means they don't even open themselves up to the support that can make their businesses better, right? So instead of them to open up to the support that makes their businesses better, they rather hide all the information because they are afraid that somebody else will come steal their ideas. But like it or not, eventually you find out somebody doing something similar to what you do. So the question is, are we meant to go back, crawl under a rock and hide because other people are interested in the businesses that we do? The answer is no. You just only have to look out there. There are businesses that are a century old. There are businesses that are multiple decades old, right in your backyard. The question is, how did those businesses succeed? I'll give you a typical example. First of all, just if you want to be clear on the direction of the world is going, there are a few companies you could look at, and you'll find out that those companies operate at least 20 to 30 years ahead. And one of those key companies that have been around and continue to operate in long term, 20, 30 years ahead, is the oil and gas companies. Why do I say so? If you watch the oil and gas companies, in the last couple of years, they began switching gradually as the conversation is moving away from fossil fuels towards cleaner energies. They've decided not to just stick with fossil fuels and say, okay, we'll be doing our oil and gas, you guys go do your solar. No. If you watch the oil and gas, some of them started by investing in institutions that were doing research in these areas. But more recently and more visibly, you've seen them change and begin to also come forward to even change their names from what it used to be to what they aspire the business to be doing in the next 10 years, the next 20 years, and the next 30 years. And that tells you these businesses, they are not looking at how to succeed and compete in 2022 or 2023 like most of us. They're looking at how to compete in 2040 and 2050. So they are always ahead of the curve. And that's why you find out that over the years, the same set of business continue to lead the world in the energy space. Even when they overtake each other, you find out that it's not like one new company comes and overtake all of them. They overtake each other, they exchange position. It's like the richest men in the world exchanging positions between themselves. Oh, this one moved from number 1 to number 2 to number 3, just that way. The same set of companies, the same set of top 5, top 10, just moving positions around themselves. So there are secrets to why they can stand out and why they can sell out. And if we learn from those secrets and apply them to our business, you would actually stop worrying about the competition. Instead, you would embrace the competition. So I'll get started with my slides. Just let me know that you're with me. If you have any questions, you could drop them in the chat. And if anything out of what we're talking hits you and makes sense to you, feel free to drop them in the chat, and then I'll come back to read them off later on. So first of all, let's look at a few things. One, let's break the myth about competition. Most people feel competition is bad. Competition wants to take food off our table. They want to take our businesses from us. But the first thing you should understand is we are all born to compete. Like it or not, you are born to compete. In short, let's go. As humans, where does competition start for us? Competition for us as humans starts from, even before we were born, your basic biology teaches you that at the point of conception, it was not, when when our parents met, right, there were multiple options of fertilization that could have happened, and it might not have been you that gets born. And yes, we're told that happens, and that competition even starts from that point to when you get born. Now, when you get born into the world, it's competition. If you look at basic parents, husband and wife, you see there's a lot of closeness that happens there before a child comes. As soon as a child comes, typical thing, the mother starts paying a lot of attention to the child, and for us as men, sometimes we become jealous, right? Because all of a sudden, before we're enjoying all the attention, and right now, what is happening? All of a sudden, someone is in, that little baby is now here to compete for that same attention we all had to ourselves before. Now let's go to plants. You put several plants on the floor, you plant several seeds. What happened? The seeds begin to germinate. You find out that some grow and overshadow the others. The same set of seeds you put on the ground are not going to say, oh, we are all seeds, let's share the nutrients equally. No, all the seeds are going to compete for the same nutrients that are right there in the soil, like it or not. Come to animals. Animals, if you watch a good chunk of National Geographic like I do, you'll find out that animals are also competitive. They are competitive over their territories. If you watch a good chunk of the wildlife, you find out that sometimes some lions will even kill the cubs of other lions just to raise their own bloodline. So competition is actually inherent in us. It is inherent in nature, and it's not something that we should think it's bad. It is not bad. The reality is that the earlier you accept competition, the better for you. So competition is not bad. Let me ask you, the question is, why is it that I say competition is not bad, right? Competition is not bad because it is competition that it is out of competition and comparison that improvement is born, right? Just imagine that the first man was content with living in a cave and never thought that it could have better shelter. Maybe by now we would all be living in the bushes, running around naked in the bush and living in caves. But the early man thought it could be better, and today we live in houses. Today we have innovations that have come out to the point that, hey, before now, you want to hold a training, you have to get a room, gather the people, but now we do that online, right? We have technology. It's competition that bred all of it, right? In those days of a lot of invention, you see lots of competition, people coming to showcase what they have done. And if you watch, it's just improvement on what the previous guy had done. The first guy does this, the next guy improves on it, keeps improving on it till you get to the point where we are, and that's where innovation is born. And competition is what keeps us on our toes. Just imagine that you were the only one in your market. Nobody knew how to do what you knew how to do on this planet. You would not even be moved. You might not be moved to even improve, right? You might just sit down, relax, and just say, let me enjoy all the attention and make all the money I can. You would not be on your toes. But if there's competition, you'll be on your toes to always outdo yourself at every single point in time. And from competition is where growth comes from. The 4 things I've mentioned here are all positive things, right? Now, I know that extreme competition can have downsides, but that is not just natural competition. That is competition with bad intent. So competition in itself, it's not bad. But when the intent is wrong, then you start having issues. But in the reality is, all the growth you have experienced comes from competition, even sometimes from internal competition. Some people say, I am my own competition. I want to outdo myself. Some of us have gone to the point where we think the competitor is the enemy. And I'll share a story with you here, right? I have had an experience that made it look this way, right? When I was studying my engineering consultancy in 2015, right, I had shared had shared my thoughts and my desires and my plans with someone. And I actually even invited that person on board to say, hey, come join my business. I actually opted to give him a stake in the business, a percentage. I opted to give him equity in the business because he's someone that had influence. And I knew he wanted to do something for himself, but I was not necessarily clear on the details of what he wanted to do. So I invited him on board. But what I found out later is I saw a company set up, and then I started seeing maybe from me or from elsewhere, or he had it in mind before, but so let's say seeing bits and pieces of the things I said I wanted to do in his business. So what happens is the person I thought we could collaborate became a direct competitor. But the truth is, competition is great. It's just possible that you brought a knife to a gunfight, right? Just imagine this man on your screen riding his chariot with his bow and arrow. He looks fantastic. He looks great. Now, just imagine that someone comes to this same fight with a machine gun. All his effort will come to what? Nothing. So it would have been nice if he has scoped and know what his competitor will come to the battle with, so that he can come equally prepared or find a way to match or outmatch his competitor. So the competitor is not the enemy, right? The truth is, competition could be your best friend. You would never have to worry again if you treat competition as your best friend. So competition really is just information being shared with you. It's just saying there's a battle in front. How prepared are you? If you want to win in this market, you cannot just do the barest minimum that everybody does and decide to win. If your goal is to be like everyone else, then why not? You don't have to bother. But if your goal is to stand out, if your goal is to be unique, if your goal is to stick out, if your goal is to sell out, then doing what everybody else does would not work. So you might ask yourself, so why should I pay attention? What is Mr. Jonathan even saying? Why should I even worry about competition? My business is doing well already. Why should I bother? The truth is, technology is pushing competition to new heights today, right? With 5% of practitioners in a recent survey, this I'm telling you about the latest survey about competitive intelligence, says that 59% of practitioners actually go ahead to say that their markets have gotten much more competitive. A different survey puts this number at 88%. And 98 of industries of stakeholders in these different businesses say that having information about the competition was important to their success, right? Just imagine that I say I'm an innovator and I don't want anybody to see what I'm doing, and I don't pay attention to what is happening out there, and I spent 3 years innovating, and what my innovation was to produce a bicycle. The question is, what have I done? I have succeeded in wasting my time, because for donkey years now, men have always ridden on what? Bicycles. So if I continue and say bicycle is what will make me stand out, then I am absolutely wrong. And by the way, something else to note is that there's hunger for real-time data today. And your competitive, if you look at your business and look at your surrounding, you can measure where you are in the market by yourself. And just in case you are thinking, what, this is gibberish, the truth is technology is driving the pace. And if you are not on board, you are late. But they said the best time to plant a tree was, is it 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 30 years ago? And the next best time is today. So if you're not on board, get in. You might ask, so what do I mean? So let's state some facts. I already started by saying, like it or not, in case you joined late, we are all competing. Every business or industry has competitive strategy. Now, your strategy happens two ways. It's either happening explicitly because you took notes and deliberately decide to go ahead and plan how you would compete in the market to get the position you want, or you are implicitly competing through your activities. So some of us have never sat down to decide to say, this is how my business stands out. I know most of us are used to the regular one, how to craft our unique selling proposition. Yes, I agree with you, but that is just a little bit of the entire exercise. Some of you have said, okay, no, my business stand out with cost. I agree with you. I'm going to show you how that plays out, right? I agree with you. That's just a bit of it, but there's more details to it. But some of us have never sat down to do that. We just look at the market. Everyone is selling 100 naira, we sell 100 naira. Everybody starts selling 90 naira, we sell 90 naira. Everybody starts selling $2,000, we want to sell $2,000. Or everybody's selling $2,000, we just look at the market and say, if everybody's selling $2,000, for me to sell, I need to sell $1,500. We're completely competing, but implicitly. Now, just imagine that you put thought to your overall strategy. What benefit would that bring to the table for you? So the fact is, there's significant gain if you choose to go through or utilize an explicit formula in determining or creating your competitive advantage. Okay, Victor, you said, please, will the recording be available? Just join. Victor, let's get to the end, okay? Let's get to the end. So, glad you could join. We started, but I think there's still a whole chunk in front. So, the question is, you might want to ask, what is driving competition in your industry? Have you sat down to ask yourself that question, right? What is driving competition in your industry? You could go ahead and look at what business you do. So anyone in the chat, just drop me, what business are you into? I think I do add this fabric with fabric is here. Obviously you're in the fabric business. Some of you might be consultants and coaches. Some of you might be in digital media. Please go ahead. You could answer this question for me in the chat. So what's driving competition in your industry? Or let's say you don't have a business in the industry you are about to enter. What actions are the current competitors or would-be competitors likely to take, right? What actions are they likely to take? What is the best way for you to respond to such an action should they go ahead and take it? And now with technology, right? With technology, how are you going to respond to these changes? I think somebody is unmuted. Just go ahead and mute you. Thank you. So with technology, how are you going to respond to these changes? The question is, how would your industry evolve? So Obianoji says, I'm into perfumes. I believe that what drives competition is the price, price nearest to the market, and then price nearest to market, and then quality. Fantastic. Price nearest to market and quality. Great. I think I'm going to bring a few of I'm going to show you a few things around that shortly, right? So if you understand that, you ask yourself, how would your industry evolve? There are some industries that we know that maybe in the next 10, 20 years, they're going to go off, right? For those of you in Nigeria, there was a time when in the early days of mobile telephony, that not everybody had a GSM. So what you had to do if you want to make call is there were people that operate commercial phone services. You go there, you pick their phone and use their numbers to call whoever you wanted to call. But as mobile telephony, internet penetration increased, what happened? Almost everyone now has a GSM. If your business model was to do the commercial service, now it is no longer needed. Some years ago, we used to buy recharge cards around. Now you don't need to buy recharge cards. You could do that directly from your bank. So in the business you are in, how is that evolving? That's a clear question you want to ask yourself. Now we're going into the work. How is that evolving? And the question is, ask yourself again, how can my company be best positioned to compete in the long run? If I go back to the oil and gas business that I mentioned earlier, most of them are shifting to cleaner energy because as the world is moving, we know that fossil fuels, they are not going to be phased out overnight, but you're going to see more sanctions on emissions. You're going to see more sanctions on pollution. So because of all of those things that are coming up, the companies are beginning to move to more cleaner forms of energy. And not just that, it's part of their corporate social responsibility. We're looking at, we have been looking at the temperature, we've been looking at global warming. So yes, every company, those companies are looking at, because they are major contributors, they're looking at how can we reduce our footprint, right? So Norma, you said I sell household, kitchen, and office items. I believe my industry would evolve to strictly online sales and maybe cheaper delivery costs. I agree with you. That is, in short, not will. I think most of the people for online household items, I don't know how many of you still go out to the shops to buy. Yes, the shops are still there, but not a lot of people go out to shops to buy household items these days, even especially things like furnitures. I bought myself a furniture recently and I did not step out of my house, right? I did everything online. So yes, technology is driving that a lot. Great example, Kali. So you see, what that tells you about is that as time goes on, you should also be moving in that direction. And you could instead move faster than even some other people that choose to stick with traditional showrooms. Now, additional questions. I'll share with you a classic approach to doing this, right? Shortly. So if you want to dominate in your industry, having a clear competitive strategy is that vehicle. Everyone needs to own this vehicle. It's your formula on how your business is going to compete. Leave the big grammar. It's very easy. It's not as difficult. It's not very difficult from the things that have just been mentioned, right? Your own competitive advantage could be just a single page document at the end of the day, depending on the size of your business. If you run an organization that has 500 people, your strategy obviously might not be a single document. But if you run a small to medium business, your strategy might be 1 pager, 2 pager, 3 pager, and then you have your strategy there. At the end of the day, every business exists for one purpose, and that purpose is to make money. Except you run a non-governmental organization, you run a not-for-profit organization. Every other business exists for one purpose, to make profit, and that purpose is what we call your organization's goals. Now, how you achieve it is the systems and the policies you put in place. And one of those systems would be your competitive strategy. Now, I'll share with you the first model of competition. And this model is what a lot of people understand. So I want to go from the known and then build on that. I want to go from the known and then build on that. Okay. So here, every organization has activities they carry out. And these activities, we call them primary activities. So if you look at these 5 items here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the 5 things every organization does. Any other thing you do outside of these 5, we call them supporting activities. So technology, procurement, HR, infrastructure, all of them are supporting activities. I'll explain what these 5 are. And I want to use this to explain what I call the core competence model. Maybe this might be the model you want to go with. So 5 of them, 1 inbound, but let's say I'll use an example of a manufacturing company. Now, manufacturing could be a brand that says, "Oh, I make changing," for example, right? So 1 inbound logistics, 2 operations, 3 outbound logistics, 4 sales and marketing, and 5 service. Inbound logistics refers to how you get raw materials in for your processing. So someone could decide to say, I want to compete on price. And to be able to compete on price, it means I have to make sure the cost of raw materials I get is super low. If I get my raw materials at super low price, my prices will be much more better than every other person in the market. So my area of competition would be price, and that price will be tied to raw materials. So that person goes to source for, okay, maybe I'll be buying my raw products directly from the farm or directly from the manufacturers. I'm going to cut out the middleman, and that will bring my prices down. So for example, for inbound, that is what I could do. Or people have a lot of challenge in moving their goods, moving raw materials, but I have found a very cheap way. Maybe if I move them using train, it's going to save me 50, 60, 70% of the cost, and then that makes it easier. So inbound logistics is how some companies compete. And let's say, for example, I own a business that makes barbecues, chicken barbecues every day, and chicken barbecues will make at least 40 to 50 per day. It makes sense that I could choose to say, okay, to be able to make my chicken barbecues affordable, I'm going to start a poultry such that all the birds I use for my chicken barbecue are from my poultry. So because I'm not buying commercially, my prices would stay what? Competitive and much better, right? Yours could be operations, right? And operations simply means how you transform the product from raw material to finished product, and what kind of quality you come out with. So when I mean operations here, what am I referring to? So let me use the example of the chicken barbecue again, right? I make the best chicken barbecue on the whole southern part of Nigeria, for example. I make the best chicken barbecue in the whole southern part of Nigeria. So just maybe the secret is I have a special sauce that has been passed down to me from 5 generations, and nobody else owns that, has access to that sauce, and that is my secret. So what is my selling point? Best barbecue in the whole southern hemisphere. And for those that have tasted my barbecue, they can confess that actually it is the best barbecue ever. Or I could decide to say outbound logistics. Outbound logistics is how I get, it's my mode of delivery, right? So outbound logistics could be speed, for example, right? So I'm selling on speed. I make a great product anyway, but every other person delivers this product in 7 days. I deliver in 48 hours. So I'll give you an example. The Ford Motor Factory in 1941 was churning out a car in less than 48 hours. So when I say churning out a car in less than 48 hours, I'm talking about from raw iron ore, right? From raw iron ore to a finished car in less than 48 hours. That's why he became the king of mass manufacturing. And that's why he could compete, because he could create a lot of volumes at the end of the day. And that's what he used. So if somebody comes and say, I need, if somebody comes at the end, comes and say, I need 200 cars, he could just tell you that, okay, when 200 cars come back in a week, you get 200. So mass production became father of it. Some people, it's sales and marketing. There are a few companies really that do this very well, right? Some companies, they make products, but sales and marketing is what makes them stand out. So Coca-Cola has massive sales and marketing. And by the way, for outbound logistics, I think Coca-Cola is one of the fathers of outbound logistics. So I say, if you want to distribute anything to almost any part of this world, put it on a Coca-Cola truck. Because in some of the remotest part of this world, where you think nothing gets there, you will find out that there's a Coca-Cola, somebody knows Coca-Cola there. So one thing the Coca-Cola company has going is massive distribution network. You might think the leverage is the Coca-Cola taste, not necessarily. Coca-Cola taste is great, but one of the things that stand out is they have massive distribution network. And if you're in Nigeria, some people think, oh, Dangote has monopoly in Nigeria. I don't think it's monopoly. I think Dangote started as a logistics company, and has massive distribution. So the question is, if I go out, I'm most likely going to see a Dangote product than any other product in the market. And because that's a product I see often, there's a chance that there's a higher chance, a higher percentage that I would buy that Dangote product at the end of the day. So it could be sales and marketing. Nike, for example, so you see the Coca-Cola company, still massive marketing. You go to some eatery outlet, they only serve Coca-Cola products, partnerships, right? You go to the World Cup, Coca-Cola is sponsoring, right? It's the same thing. You see your favorite sports icons wearing Nike, are being sponsored by Nike. They wear Nike, some of them wear Nike boots, Nike memorabilia, and co. And you are influenced to buy from them. So sales and marketing, apart from making great product, they have chosen sales and marketing as one of the things. If they use the same strategy to sell something else, they will still excel because they are great at sales and marketing. For others, you could choose service, right? So some people say cost with excellent customer service is how we'll beat you down. I have a bank that I use, and since I've been going to that bank, I hardly meet a queue on that bank. And I've never gone to the bank to say I want to withdraw money in any currency and they don't have it, no matter how scarce it is. I've never gone and say, okay, I want to withdraw USD, and they say, no, we don't have. No, they always have. If my account is in euros and I want to withdraw euros, I will get euros. That's what just happens in that bank. And I keep them for that purpose. So that service is what keeps me coming back again and again and again. Now, while I just rubbed off on this ones a bit because we have the opportunity to go into more details, this is to tell you, this is what we call core competence model. Core competence model is you choose one of these or multiple areas based and choose to say, this is how I would stand out. Now, this is what a lot of people know about. Most people compete on price, customer service, the kind of products they make, right? And yes, but the truth is, in any of these 5 areas, the application doesn't have to be exactly how I explained it. You could pick any of this area and come up with a variation that is specific to your business, right? In the past, dry cleaning, laundry businesses, you had to take your clothes to them. They would launder it, you go back and you pick them up. All of a sudden, now that model has changed. Most laundry business or laundromats pick up the clothes from you, dry clean them, and bring them back to you, sometimes within 24 hours or less. And that is a new model, and the market has to deal with it because that's how the competition has evolved in that niche. So the first model I've showed you now is what I call the core competence model, right? The core competence model. I'll give you an example here, right? In my engineering consultancy, one of the things we did early on was there are companies that you call general contractors. They can do all sorts of things, all sorts of things. If you tell them come and supply, they will supply. You come and train, they will train. Come and consult, they will consult. They do all kinds of things, and that's what they could do. They don't specialize, right? But for our engineering company, for us, we choose just 4 areas to specialize, and I could name them for you, right? Maintenance, reliability, asset performance management, operations excellence. These were not areas that people specialized on the most. These were not typical common practices. But these 4 areas we chose to specialize in 2015. But guess what? These 4 areas are some of the most prominent areas and most sought after areas in 2022. Because when we decided to specialize in that niche, we were looking at the future, not the present. So now it's like the market is ripe for us for the plugin now, and we continue to improve. So what is your core competence really at the end of the day? What is your core competence? What makes you stand out? So if we're looking at this core competence model, what is your core competence if that's what you're doing? Now, I want to show you another one I call the TPhase concept. The TPhase concept is what I call TAA. So TAA stands for track, analyze, and action. Now, track, analyze, and action is based on the philosophy that in today's world, data is gold and data is so available everywhere. When you talk about data, now in the past, companies could keep their secrets to themselves, but today, social media, internet penetration is making everybody come out, and companies business are beginning to share more than they used to share in the past. And because they are beginning to share more than they used to share in the past, what is happening? You have a gold mine of data. Yesterday, I was discussing online on a live session, and I said, today, you don't even need to think of a product to create. You don't need to break your head. You just need to go online, look at the various niche you have interest in, and just go and look at Google reviews on these different niches. And all of a sudden, you can see all the problems in those niches. And right there and then, you could almost pick a product you would create that will solve those problems you have identified, and you can create that process. You can even have customers even before the product is out, simply because you were deliberate. So note that the first thing we're looking at here is you have to be deliberate. You want to stand out, you want to sell out, you want to be competitive, you don't want to worry about the competition, you want to embrace it, like I said, make it your friend. You start by looking at information. And you don't need to look at 50 million lines of data to be able to do that. Just the normal way you scroll through your phone and social media every day can give you that edge. So the concept here is track, analyze, and take what? Action. I'll show you how this works and how it worked for me, right? So I give you an example. So how the strategy works is you want to ask yourself, in your current niche, for example, who has the loudest megaphone in your niche? Because what everybody is doing now to compete is this. Everybody thinks, most people think, let me not use the word everybody, most businesses think that they would be hired by shouting the loudest. So what you have now is, how are they shouting? Everybody is running ads. Everybody is marketing. So we think that the more ads we run, the more marketing we do, the more ad budget we have, the more we can sell, the more we stand out. So today, it's a shouting competition out there. So the question you want to ask yourself is, who has the loudest megaphone in your niche? Pick a couple of them that you see as real competitors or as people that know what they're doing. Now, if you isolate the people that have the loudest megaphone in your niche, what that tells you is automatically that is direct insights to know the kind of information that your audience is exposed to the most. So by knowing that information that most of your audience are exposed to, it automatically tells you that, gives you insights to say, okay, now this is what everybody is saying. This is what the market looks like. It's saturated. This is what everybody is selling. Everybody is selling hair. They are on IG. They are dancing. They are using influencers. So now you have all this information. The next question is this. You want to say, okay, now I know what others are doing. How can I be different? How can I stand out? How can I create a message that resonates with this same public, doesn't look like I'm shouting like the other people, and gets them to buy and still meet their needs? So you get the opportunity without spending a dime on, you use your competitors' money to do your own research. They provide you the information and evidence you need, and you can go back and simply craft how you want to go about selling your own product. It doesn't mean you're not going to market as well, but you might be able to come out with a better way to market your product, right? And this is going to thrive on you being deliberate. I'll give you an example of something that I did a couple of years ago. So in 2016, I hosted a conference in Lagos. And when I hosted that conference, I practically lost money on it, right? I spent about 2 million to host the event. At the same time, I was hosting the event when I had an opportunity to consult for a company outside of Nigeria, and that company was going to pay me $6,000, and $6,000 was about 2 million at the time. I ignored them and I said, I have my event to run. I did not push the date and I tried to go ahead and host my event and lost 2 million. So cumulatively, I lost 4 million. And if you now add the fact that the possible repeat businesses that could come from that job, from that consultancy opportunity that I missed, I may have lost way more than 10, 15, 20 million down the road, simply because I say I must host my event. Now, I hosted the event. I didn't have enough people in the room. I had to go on radio and give out free tickets to the event just to have a full room. And I was hosting this event at 4 Points by Sheraton. So people came to learn and eat on me for free because I wanted to make that event go ahead. By the next year, I found out that when we went back and looked at the market and looked at what everyone was doing, we found out that one of the things that was clear was we were rookies. 1, 2, we don't have the budget and access that other companies that do similar events have, right? And 3, if we continued on the same path, we were going to be on the losing side. Now, we had a training and consultancy business that these events were meant to feed, but we were not getting what we wanted. So what we chose to do was this, right? After tracking our data and evaluating our environment, we started to say, can we create something different? So instead of trying to host an event that we say pay, and because people don't know us in the market, we don't have a name, we don't have a brand that people recognize, we don't get to pay. Can we now create a forum where we can build our name and our brand? So we started to say, okay, we'll host the same conference, but now we're going to just host it for free at no charge. However, we're not going to host for hosting's sake. We're going to host the best conference possible, and it's going to be for free. But what we want to do is this, because our target audience are corporate people who would always be that even the gate man can bounce us from entering into the company to submit proposals. What the goal was, we're going to give good value, but we're going to attract our ideal audience to come out of the gates of their company to us. And then afterward, we can market to them. So we used that simple method, which is still very prominent today, to bring them. And we started hosting those events. And these people started coming. And because we were in the engineering field at the time, it's not easy to convince people to make that switch because of a lot of technicalities and competence that is required to deliver in that field. So when they started coming out to us, that was a good place for us. And when they started coming out for us, what happened was, even though we still submitted proposals, a good chunk of our jobs were not coming from proposals. The good chunk of our jobs were coming from the companies now reaching out to us even when we have not sold to them. So what happens is we deliver so much value that the value cannot be ignored. And all of a sudden, because we've analyzed our environment, we've analyzed the data available to us, we now took actionable steps by creating those solutions. Yes, when you come to the event, we tell you all the things we do, but you are going to learn for sure. Now, once we are done, what happens? Some of the biggest companies we have worked with, if I name them, some of the biggest companies you know in Nigeria, in the oil and gas sector, we've done work for them. How did we do work for them? We did not knock on any doors. These companies reach out to us and say, you are this company, can you do XYZ for us? We say yes. Okay, so instead of us going to chase, okay, let's register in your company, here's proposal, 1,000 proposal, 1,000,000 proposal. No, they were reaching out to us. What was happening? The same people that we had trained that attended our events for free, what they were doing was that these same people were going back to the company.
I do it, but like recreational.
I think so.
I know you smoke, but did you?
Okay, great. Sorry. So these same people that come and take value from us, they go back to their companies and say, there is a company that does XYZ, and we think they can do XYZ for us. So it is the same people that came to learn from us from free that were going back and telling their companies about us. Now, instead of us to be sending proposal and looking for MD number, what happens is that same company, those companies were reaching out to us. So while other businesses that were similar to us were sending proposals to these same companies, to some of these companies were not working with us based on the proposals we sent, They were calling us to do business with us. And that changed the face of our business. Recently, I concluded an event in Port Harcourt, and one of the companies that were represented was, the event was made for companies in southern Nigeria. So one of the companies that was represented was Flour Mills of Nigeria in Lagos. And I was privy to the mails that they sent between themselves. And because when they got just a newsletter was what they received and say, hey, we want to do this. And somebody say, who is this company? Is there no other one? They did not write to us. We were not the one that had to justify our existence. Within the same company, somebody else went ahead and justified our existence and said, no, we know this company, they are reputable in XYZ. And this year I told my staff that that job we started in 2017 was done because we had established our name through this simple process. You might think it's a magic wand that we have to shake. We don't have to shake a magic wand. If you understand your area, you will understand. If you understand your business, you'll be able to pick a strategy that would work for you. I'll pause here and just check. So, any questions for us? If you are picking anything from this session, please just go ahead and drop them here. Hi, Tricia in the building. Coach, my coach is here. I can see her. Great. So if you have any questions as I progress, please drop them in the chat, and then I will welcome those questions. I will answer them for you, and then I'll make sure that at the end of the day, you get the best from this session. So I'll just run through in a few slides before I get to the end. I know with time is fast approaching. If you allow me, I'm going to talk and talk and talk. So how do you formulate your own strategy? I've showed you two different areas, right? I've showed you simple one that everybody knows, the core competence model. I've showed you the TAA model that I use. I use both really. I have bits and pieces of the core competence model, and I also have bits and pieces of my TAA strategy, my three-phase strategy that I make use of. Now, if you're formulating a strategy, Mr. Jonathan, so how do I formulate mine? All these things you're talking is big grammar. How do I formulate mine? There are a couple of things I want to show you. Now, if you want to formulate your strategy, there are a few things you must look out for. And some of them would be internal and some external, right? Internal, I'll give you an example. All of us, if you're in Nigeria, you're in Lagos at any point in time, you know the story of Gokada, right? Gokada is a Nigerian startup that was using motorcycles as means of transportation, which is a popular means of transportation in different parts of Nigeria. But their model was great, but all of a sudden, an external factor impacted them. The government banned transportation by motorcycle. And no matter how good their strategy was and the money they had raised, that singular action of government practically eroded a lot of things that they had worked on. And now they had to go back and rethink on their drawing board. So two different factors are there. Some of the factors would be internal, some would be external. So internal factors, one would be typical things like your company's strengths and weaknesses. So obviously, I expect that you understand SWOT analysis by now, right? SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So internally, you want to look at your company, and there's a critical question I need you to pick here. Your strengths, and for your strengths, you want to see how to leverage on that to be better. For opportunities, you want to see how to cash in on those opportunities and get the best out of it. However, there are two areas that every competitor wants to exploit. So you have to ask yourself the question ahead of time. Now, this area, I'm excited about it. Your weaknesses and threats in your industry. The question is, the weaknesses and threats, why not sit down and ask yourself the question, how can the competition exploit my weaknesses and those threats that are in my industry? If you have weaknesses and you don't ask yourself this question, just know that this is the primary question the competition is asking. If I were to come into your industry, what I'm doing is I'm going through your reviews, going through the comments, and I'm looking for every singular thing that your that your customers are not happy with. And I'm going to make sure I solve those problems when I come up with my product. And that is how I can undercut you in the market. So the question is, what if you turn that on its head and ask yourself the question, how can I exploit? How can what ways can the competition exploit my weaknesses and the threats I face in the industry? How can technology impact my strengths and the opportunity in the industry? Because that thing you thought was your strength, right? Technology can come and take it away. And all of a sudden, when your strength is taken away, what happens? You're left with your weaknesses. So you have to ask yourself these these questions. I have about 24 different questions you could go through to solve this. And yes, I'm going to tell you how you can benefit from that, right? So if you ask yourself these clear questions, if you ask yourself, how can the competition exploit my weakness? What would happen is you would have the chance to answer the question before the competition. And if you answer the question before the competition, you would take action on your weakness before the competition. So what happens is your strength becomes better. If you know technology is going to wipe off that strength, you're already innovative, you know what to do to stay ahead of the game. Your weaknesses are no longer weaknesses because you've asked yourself that questions, you've put buffer in place, you've turned your weaknesses into strengths. So the chances that the competitor would exploit your weaknesses become slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. So what happens? Instead of you to be looking out for what the competition is doing, they are coming for me. They've increased their price. Oh, they posted today, let me post. They danced today on IG, let me dance. They sent proposal, let me send. They are doing a fair, let me do. No, you do not have to do that because you are ahead of the game. You are going to be unique and you'll be covering up as you go. So what happens is you are perpetually ahead. You stand out, and because you stand out and you have your game together, you would sell out. When the competition is bothered about searching for your weaknesses, you are using that time to make your game better and you continue to sell. I hope that's clear. So that's one part. The second part is personal values of key implementers. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I have the key to solving all these ones, and I'm going to tell you because sometimes we employ people into our organizations with, oh, it's a good fit. But sometimes their personal values could be a clash with what the organization wants to achieve. So let's say, for example, I have somebody that maybe doesn't eat goat meat, for example, and then the person doesn't eat goat meat, he forbids goat meat, he doesn't want goat meat, and then I employ that person in an industry where in a business where we make goat meat barbecue every day, right? Do you think that person would make, and that person is meant to be the chef, do you think that person would make the greatest goat meat barbecue? Might not necessarily be, right? Might not necessarily be. So that you have to look at the personal values of the people that will implement your strategy matter a lot here. It matters a ton. It matters a ton. Then these two are internal. I'm going to break them down just a little bit more before I end the session, right? So the next one is you have to look at what are the industry opportunities generally, because part of your competitive strategy to stay ahead is you want to see what opportunities the industry is bringing, what technology is coming, what's the economy saying. So you're going to know that if that industry is going to be wiped out because of technology, if you have to pivot into a new area, you already know, like the example of the oil companies I gave you, you already know and you are working at it. So before the industry gets at you, you're already out, you've moved into something new. UBA was a bank. Now, UBA is not just a bank anymore. The same people that own UBA, all of a sudden, they are into power. they bought Kirigu power plant. Oh, we say power. Before you know, from power, they now own Transcorp, a hoteling business. While we're still working on that, there's now Hess Holding, a oil and gas business, right? So you're just thinking at yourself, the competition is coming from different angles. So at the end of the day, before the industry eats you up, you know what to do. So you want to know what are the opportunities there, and then you want to also know what are broader societal expectations. You also want to know what the government policies are before the government policies wipe you off. So if I want to break that down, when you're looking at your strengths and weakness, you're looking at your profile of assets, skills relative to the competition, you're looking at what are my financial resources, right? What's my technological posture? Just a lot of that. If you look at the personal values of key implementers, what are the motivation and needs of the key executive and other personnel who must implement my choosing what strategy? What's the competitive environment? What does the competitive environment looks like right now? What's the risks? What are the potential rewards? Broader sector expectations, obviously, government policies, social concerns, and evolving conditions. These are things you want to look at, right? And yes, the truth is you could test for all of these. You could test for all of this, right? As I wind down, you could test for all of these, each one of them. I'm closing now, and I'm going to close with this. So if you want to create your strategy, how do you do it? You could use any of these models I talked about, but you just have 3 different questions you would answer as you apply this strategy. First one is, what is the business doing now? What is the business doing now? Are you competing implicitly or explicitly? That's the question you want to ask yourself. 2, and obviously, what assumptions have you made with regards to your company's relative position, your strength, your weakness, the competition, the industry trends? What kinds of assumptions have you made? So you want to first of all assess where you are now, because you have to know where you were starting from before you identify where you're going to. The next is, what is happening in the environment? So you want to analyze your environment. There are various ways you can analyze this, right? One of the ways you analyze this, we have what we call a competitive landscape matrix. One of the things you are going to do is, the competitive landscape is how you break down the different competitors in your segment, right? You can segment them. You can know who is a direct competitor, indirect competitor, perceived competitor, aspirational competitor. What kind of competition is it? Is it a sales competition? Is it a vertical competition? Is it company stage competition? So there are different types of competition here when you want to start doing these current assessment of your environment. You also want to be able to know how each business is competing with you, and there are clear templates that you could use to actually achieve this. Then the third one is, when you've been able to do all of that, you want to also ask yourself, what should your business be doing? So this ties to my TWA strategy: track, analyze, action. Right? Track, analyze, action. So if you ask yourself, what should your business be doing? Then you want to test what assumptions, what strategies you've been able to create, and then what choices you would make to make sure you achieve this. As just before I round up, I'm just going to ask, if you've got any questions so far, could you please go ahead and drop them in the chat? Just go ahead and drop them in the chat. I got the chats are coming in. So if you've got any questions for me, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I want to answer your questions just before I go ahead and round up the session. So let me come back. I've been talking since. Let me see your beautiful faces again. So any questions? I've just run through the chat now. Let me see what you guys have to say before I go ahead. Okay, so I see here, let's see. Daniel says, this is awesome, thank you. Lawan, he says, can't believe this is free. You're welcome. You're welcome. Smart. Smart says, my name is Blessing. Okay, say it. Yeah. So your question is, how do I get B2B customers to come buy bulk for their production? Sending proposal isn't working. Lowering prices isn't favorable either. And also, how do I get more customers who can buy weekly? Okay, great, Smart. I'm going to come back to your question. I understand what your dilemma is. If you are in the food business today, I think we need to give you a standing ovation. Really, it's not been easy for most of you. So we need to give you a standing ovation. So before I come back to your question, I'll just round this up and then I'll answer your questions. So I'll just go back to my slide. I've seen the question you asked. I'll go back to my slide, close this out, and then I can go ahead and answer your questions, the questions that you have put out there for me. Okay, so back to my slide. So I stopped here, how to create your own strategy. Yes. So one of the things I will be doing in the next couple of weeks is to really teach you how to compete, really how to compete. And teaching you how to compete means I want to hold your hands and walk you through these stages. So at the end of the day, one of the things that you would have in your hand is your own strategy to compete. And I'm not saying you would compete for a day and stop, or you create one strategy and then you keep it for the next 10 years. It's going to be a strategy that you can choose to review every 6 months, and that strategy keeps you ahead. Now, I know most of us spend our time and energy to go ahead and look for information on how to sell, how to set up, how to get the best product, but sometimes we don't look for information on how we can compete. So your business faces different threats. I'm going to tell you some of the threats you face. Just like somebody said, there's the threat of new entrants coming into your business. There's a threat of the bargaining power of buyers, there's a threat of bargaining power of suppliers. Some of you now, with the prices of things going up, to get things from your suppliers is a problem. There's a threat of substitute products or services that is there. There's a general industry competition. These are 5 areas where lots of competitions are coming to your businesses from. And every day, new entrants are getting in, some of them with bigger pockets than you do, with better resources than you do. Every day, the bargaining powers of the buyer is becoming stronger in some markets because there's so many options available. So people can really just go around and choose where they want to buy. For some of you, your suppliers just keep changing the price of products at will. So you are left to do, if you were competing on price, your suppliers now no longer make it tenable for you to compete on the basis of price anymore. And for some of you, there are other products in your market that are substitute products. And because of this substitute product, even though they were not direct competitors to you, they are indirect competitors, and they are almost fulfilling a similar need to what you do. And all of a sudden, it becomes a challenge for you. So the real question is, how would you like to compete favorably? How would you like to stand out and stay ahead consistently? I think I've shown you the different ways you could do that, but if you want to get this comprehensive strategy on how to do it, you want me to work with you and walk step by step through the process of creating this strategy, then I just put out something that would be useful to you, right? I have a 3-day workshop coming up later on in the month. And over 3 days virtually, I'm going to take you step by step of how you can create your winning formula for competitive advantage. It's called the Competitive Advantage Workshop or Competitive Advantage Blueprint. Leave the whole big grammar that I'm speaking. You understand? You want to stand out, you want to stay ahead, you want to sell out. This is how you do it, right? And when we started this workshop, we had given out early bird discount. Early bird discount, the program is 60,000 and early bird discount gives you 25,000 Naira off. But for those of you on the call today, you get to enjoy that same early bird discount that we had at the beginning. So my colleague, Anu, would drop the link for the program on the chat session. And if you're there, please drop the link. And those interested, please make sure that you get these early bird, you get in for this early bird discount. So while you are looking at my screen and then going ahead, I'll just come back and answer the couple of questions that I see there already. And then we can now work forward from there. Let me see if Anu has dropped the link. Okay. So while we're working through this, I'm just going to go ahead and ask and answer the questions that you guys dropped at the beginning. So I'll start from the last question. Naomi says, my question is, how do I make myself an authority in my niche? And how do I target or get access to clients with purchasing power? So targeting in your niche, really, it's going to come with targeting in your niche will actually have to start with, first of all, yes, one, it's clear that you have mastered the subject that you're teaching or the subject that, okay, Naomi says, I sell household, kitchen, and office items. Oh, so it's actually even much more easier. So targeting in your niche really starts with showing me that you guys are the masters at what you do. And nothing beats the best way we show that we are masters at what we do actually starts with the showing. Why I said the showing is this, okay? So sorry, just a quick one. I've dropped the link now. You can check out the program and then get that discount tonight. Put it out there, okay? So I'll start with, so targeting in your niche to stand out is one. If it's in the sense of competitive strategy, really, it's actually still the same thing like I said. You can use my TAA method where you track, analyze, and action. So tracking means question. I want to be authority, but first of all, who are the present authorities in my niche? Who are those people that are doing the things I want to do or that I'm looking to achieve? That's where we have to start from. So if you look at your industry, who are those selling kitchen, household, and office items now? How are they doing it, right? And yes, there's nothing wrong in looking at what are they doing right and getting right. You want to put that in the plate as well. Then the next question is, how can I do better? Just like the way we said, when you do a SWOT analysis, you want to look at your weakness and ask yourself, how can the competition take my weakness and use it against me, or how would they want to exploit it? You also, as part of your process, what you are actually doing is looking at the competition and saying, what are the areas, what areas are they not covering? Who are they not selling to? Sometimes it's what's the value added service that they can bring. Can I become a kitchen consultant instead? So if I say I sell household, okay, really, selling household items is what a lot of people do. But what if you become, your advantage becomes you become Alkali, the kitchen consultant? So there are many people that want to get their kitchen done. They really don't know what they want to do in their kitchen. They don't know what it's meant to look like. So the question is, what if you say, I'm normal Alkali, the kitchen consultant? and you're teaching people how to set up their kitchens, how to get it right, how to make sure, really, there might be some science to kitchens, really. I don't even know the science to kitchens, right? I just know that sometimes they put the colors together, it looks beautiful. Should there be a flow to how things are arranged? Should there be a flow to the kind of utensils in the kitchen? Those are things that could be clearly looked at, and you could use that as to become your advantage, added service. And then if you're looking at purchasing powers, yes, you want to ask yourself a clear question. As part of creating your strategy, you're asking yourself, okay, those that can buy, where are they? Where do they currently buy from? And how can I get in front of them? So the more you get your product in front of your target audience, the better the chances that they will buy from you, right? So as part of your strategy, if I'm creating myself to stand out as a kitchen consultant, where am I going to meet these people? One typical place I tell people is, see, these days we don't seem to make good use of cooperatives. There are many, many companies and businesses that have cooperatives, and many of the people in these businesses buy from these cooperatives. And cooperative is one inroad to some of the big companies. So if banks have cooperatives, go there. If civil services, if your target, for example, civil servants, they have cooperative, go there. So all these many companies that have cooperative and unions and co, those are very good inroads to get into them. Now, some of these cooperatives even have fairs. Can you go to those fairs? Because naturally, you sit in front of 1,000 people that are your target audience. I give one thing that's happening now. There's a conference called OTC, the Offshore Technology Conference. Is happening in the United States. If you go there, the amount of Nigerians you see in that conference, you would think that there's even a Nigerian corner there. What are people going there to do? They are going there to network and meet with people in their industry to see how they can do business. Because if you go there, you know everybody here is talking oil and gas or servicing oil and gas. So if my target is oil and gas, I will just spend some money, go to that conference and meet the right people all in one place. And when I come back, I can start working on those leads I've gotten, right? Nama, I hope that helps. I hope that helps. Let's see, any other questions? So let me come back to Blessing. So Blessing, you say, how do I get B2B customers to buy bulk for their production? Sending proposal isn't working, lowering prices isn't favorable either. How do I get more customers who can buy weekly? So the question is, who are your customers and where are they? Again, the same thing. Sometimes we want the money, but sometimes we are not willing to do what it takes to get the money to us. And yes, guys, please, I dropped that link down. Save yourself 25,000 naira by signing up for that program. So Norma, you want to learn more, then please sign up for the Competitive Advantage program, and then you have that access to myself, and we can create something for you. Maureen, please, you can do the same as well. Let's see again. Yes, Blessing, you can do the same. So the question is, the people that buy and use your product, where are they? How often do they buy? Who do they buy from right now? And I'm not going to, I might not buy from you based on proposal, but you have to look at the gathering where these people come together. And you have to look at, okay, if you are selling like, maybe you're just selling the way every other person sells, send proposal and send DM. The question is, if that method is not working and not giving you the desired result, can you flip that method on its head? Can you look for a better method to sell, right? If you keep using the same method, you're not getting a result, then it's not working. You're doing what everybody else does, and you are boring your proposed customers with just too much information. I told you my own strategy. I found a way to get the people out. And because they came out to me, they learned from me. And because they learned from me, guess what? In the future, when they had those needs, I was the person that came to mind for them. Because I had given them, I had shown them my capacity and my capability. So if you are doing this, sometimes one of the things that we're going to be teaching as part of this program is what we call interdependence, and also strategic partnership. That's one of the things we'll be teaching in this program, because there are times when it's not just marketing, it's not just creating a strategy that matters. Your strategy might just be what we call strategic partnership. What it simply means is you ask yourself, who are similar businesses that do what I do, or complementary businesses that I can work with together to get my product out there to the population that needs it. And if you get that done, that could be the game changer for you. So it's not sufficient to say, I have a good product and I send proposals out. So part of the things we'll be looking at includes strategy partnership. And with strategic partnership, that could just be what breaks, that could be just what breaks the ice for you in that niche and in that industry you're in. So Blessing, I hope the few things I've mentioned help. And if you want more, I think there's so much more. And then we have very, very limited time to talk here in this masterclass. But I hope it's been useful to you, Blessing. Blessing, let me hear your feedback, please. So thank you, Noma Akali. You said that's helped a lot. Great. Maureen, you say, I want to start a virtual training for event beginners. How do I target my audience? So who are explain to me, please, just type again, who are the people that you're referring to as event beginners? I want to know them. Could you just specify a little bit more? Who are event beginners? Can you spell it out for me? So guys, as Maureen is updating, let me know how this went for you. I want you to tell me how you feel in the comment section. So Obiano, okay, Obiano, I'm seeing what you do. You say I'm interchanging and Zobo drinks for events. Odras competition is quality and packaging. Absolutely, I agree with you. Having great product is also a great thing to do here, because if your quality and packaging is great and your product is crap, after we buy the first time, we cannot keep coming, because one of the benefits of competitive advantage is you want to keep your existing customers coming back again and again and again. Not that you sell to them at the first time and they disappear or that. Khadija, you say, I sell made in Nigeria handbag. Odras competition is unique and original designs with a story behind it. Absolutely. I agree with you. The story, the unique and original. Some people don't just want the same thing that everybody sells in the market. They want that difference, that uniqueness. So yes, I totally agree with you. Unique designs are great. Okay, glad you could identify some of those things. So Blessing, so yes, that was a great deal. We'll try other options. Thank you, sir. So you're welcome, Blessing. Please make sure that you take advantage. So guys, it's 9:08, and I'm glad that some of you are still here with me. So please, I want to know what did you take away from this program? Please go ahead in the chat section and put that, and we'll try to run this up. What's your takeaway from this program? What value has it added to you? And just in case you don't, I know most of you signed up to be here. If you're on social media on IG, you can follow us at Quick Start Consult, and then see, so you get access to more details about the things we do right there. So now I understand that my competitors are not my enemies. I agree with you. Yes, keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. What have you learned, and what impact has this session made for you? So, Ajay, I see you. What have you learned? Ajay Daniel, what have you learned? Chichi, what have you learned? Chika, what have you learned? Please go ahead and put it. What have you learned? Dami Lawani, what have you learned? Emmanuel, what have you learned? Emmanuel Tom, what have you learned? Blessing, what have you learned? Daniel, what have you learned? Khadija, I say you're putting yours down. How to stand out, great. Afuayako, what have you learned? Mariam Olaite Ali, what have you learned? Maureen, what have you learned? Right? Oladipo, what have you learned? Peter, Upon, what have you learned? Ruth, Okwaha, what have you learned? Sarah, Izebije, what have you learned? Shegun, Tina, what have you learned? William Asukwa, I see you, what have you learned? Hosni, Abdul Rahman, what have you learned? So go ahead. Tell me how the session made you feel. Tell me what your takeaways are. Tell me that if the session made sense to you. Yes, Peter, my competitors are my friends. Absolutely, embrace them. Nice fabrics. I've learned that my competitors are not my enemies. But to re-strategize, I agree with you. Yes, Mama says I don't have to copy what my competitors are doing. I agree with you. Yeah. Oladipo, I love your take on preparing ahead of competition while working on one's weakness. Thank you, Oladipo. Great lesson. Now I know I need competitive strategy to succeed, and it's the least area we focus on when browsing on how to succeed. I agree with you. Shagun says, awesome exposures. Great. I agree with you. Dami says, I learned I could use Google review to find the consumer's pain and then build your products to resolve them. Great. William, you said SWOT plus TAA is a fantastic combination. Yeah, it works. It can work magic for you. Mama said, I just need to focus on my strategy and use my strengths to stand out. Absolutely. So Khadija said, I'm in the made in Nigeria industry and it's quite saturated. How can I stand out? Khadija, yes, you can stand out really. It's made in Nigeria is not inferior. Made in Nigeria doesn't mean you cannot stand out. Made in Nigeria could actually be what makes you stand out really. It's made in Nigeria, but really as long as you have the quality, you have the story, you have to find who are the people that you can sell this to. And if you identify that market, really, your brand can stand out as a made in Nigeria, your brand can just stand out as simply quality. It doesn't matter where the product is made from. So let not made in Nigeria be the stumbling block. Can you twist made in Nigeria to be what makes you stand out, right? Can you turn it on its head? Can you not focus that it is made in Nigeria, but simply that you sell quality products? So today there's a lot that's going on with shoes, and we're seeing a lot of shoes, footwear being made in Nigeria, and we want to buy them, want to patronize them because they are simply good enough. Not because somebody told us or because it was made in our backyard, but they are simply good enough. Okay. Yeah, okay. Lesson says, I also learned you need to plan years ahead and keep at it till it pays off. I agree with you. One of my coaches says, if you start the strategy and you've not done the strategy for 6 straight months, you have no right to say it's not working. Daniel says, using SWOT analysis in combination with TI to develop my business. I agree with you. So let's keep it coming. I'll be out of here in another 2 minutes. She said, I'm a UK-based personal business shopper, and the market is very saturated at the moment. So saturation is not your problem, Chichi. Question: are you going to? So you are looking at the area that you are looking at vendors being saturated. The question is, does everyone in the market already own your products? Are the customers saturated? Are you telling me that all the products you sell to all the 7 billion people on planet Earth, everybody has the product in their house? So stop looking at the competition. Stop looking at them. Focus on the market, the people buying. Are they saturated? Are there better ways to sell? Could you choose to source unique products, right? Could you choose to source unique product? Is there a niche that is underserved right now? Okay. So any more questions, please? Yes, Marian said, no matter how saturated an industry is, all that is needed is to identify different strategies, learn from competitors, and make good use of all of it to resolve consumer pains. Absolutely. Okay, while you're putting your learnings, let me work on closing this out in style. Thank you so much for coming. I'll just keep it open for a couple of minutes. Again, the link is on there. If you want to get that 25% discount, then please go ahead and sign up. Okay, go ahead and sign up, and then I'll see you inside. So let's